Corpus Christi officials continue to discuss drought contingency policies as a Level 1 water emergency draws near. The city of Victoria receives a $3 million TxDOT renovation project, and Texas A&M Corpus Christi's baseball team picks up a postponed conference game after they protested to the NCAA. This is South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Thank you for joining me on this Tuesday, April 21st. Corpus Christi City Council will have their next regularly scheduled meeting next Tuesday, April 28th. For today, council members continue to discuss policies on the City Council-approved drought contingency plan. The policies address water supply, availability, demand conditions, and drought stages. Topics included water supply and demand scenarios, recommendation on baseline water use and curtailment percentages, as well as drought surcharges, among other policies affecting residents. Chris 6 News reports that ahead of the workshop that September is projected to be when the city could declare a Level 1 water emergency, which means the city would be within 180 days of not being able to meet water demand. A proposed draft outlines immediate restrictions for residents should a water emergency be declared, including prohibitions on washing vehicles and watering lawns. Violations will be classified as a Class C misdemeanor, carrying fines of up to $500 per violation per day. We'll have an update on today's workshop tomorrow on Morning Edition and South Texas Midday. All of Corpus Christi's regularly scheduled council meetings, as well as other workshops, are live streamed on the city's official YouTube channel. Victoria City Council meets today at 5 p.m. at their council chambers. This week, agenda highlights will look at approving an advance funding agreement between the city and Texas Department of Transportation, or TxDOT, for the $3 million Guy Grant Trail project. The city was awarded a project from the TxDOT's Transportation Set Aside program for construction of a multi-use trail connecting Guy Grant Road to the Lone Tree Hike and Bike Trail. Because the city qualifies for transportation development credits, no cash match is required. The project will be designed and constructed by TxDOT. Also, Director of Resources Nina Campos will present an overview of progress implementing Texas Local Government Code Chapter 143 for the fire department. The update will overview the work the Civil Service Commission has undertaken since being appointed earlier this year. Victoria City Council meets on the first and third Tuesdays of each month. Meetings are live streamed online at victoriatx.gov and on YouTube at Victoria Texas Videos. The Trump administration has begun accepting applications to refund close to $170 billion in emergency tariffs, which the Supreme Court said it had collected illegally. But Houston Public Media's Andrew Schneider reports small businesses could have a long wait before they see any reimbursement.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection launched a website Monday that allows businesses to apply for reimbursement of duties the administration collected illegally under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA. Casey Wright is business manager for Houghton Horns, a specialty brass instrument shop near Fort Worth.
Everything was processed through a shipping service like FedEx, UPS, DHL, and so they are the importer of record. They are going to have to go and claim the refunds from Customs and Border Protection. And then, hopefully, if they feel like it, they will pass it on to us.
Wright says that most small businesses are in a similar situation, lacking the resources to employ their own in-house customs brokers. I'm Andrew Schneider in Houston.
Attorney General Ken Paxton filed a lawsuit Monday against Act Blue, a political donations platform for Democratic candidates. KERA's Dylan Duke reports the suit is the latest in a series of actions taken against the platform.
Paxton claims Act Blue allows improper donations from people outside the country. He also alleged the platform allows people to bypass donation limits. Act Blue raised nearly $2 billion last year for Democratic candidates and causes. He previously opened an investigation into Act Blue in December 2023. Afterwards, he sent a letter to the Federal Elections Commission claiming he had uncovered evidence of election interference. And in April of last year, President Donald Trump ordered the Justice Department to investigate Act Blue. The donation platform calls the investigations baseless and politically motivated. I'm Dylan Duke in Dallas.
What's known as long COVID-19 can take a physical toll well after the initial virus has passed, but the medical community now acknowledges an impact on mental health. In this segment of KERA's Vital Signs series, Sam Baker talks about long COVID depression with Dr. Matthew Meese, a family medicine physician with Baylor Scott and White Health in Temple.
Activity and exercise are so central to our lives, but the fatigue itself is not the most worrisome component. It's this report of post-exertional malaise, which means that when people exercise, they feel even worse. They get knocked out for several days. It's somewhat unique to long COVID. It's also seen in other conditions, but that's what has researchers and clinicians like me worried for patients. What is the best strategy to improve that? And we're still learning more and more about that.
If you exercised regularly before developing COVID, will that help your ability to exercise with long COVID?
No, it doesn't seem to be a clear correlation, but it does help the mindset. When patients know that they've exercised at a previous high level, right, they can set that goal again to get to that new baseline to improve. And I think that's a tact that patients and clinicians work together to achieve the best outcomes.
So how do you approach exercise then if you have long COVID?
The goal isn't to get back to your old baseline. We're starting with a new baseline and we're going to get improvement. We make new patient-specific exercises and goals related to their physical activity. And as a mutual decision between the patient and the multidisciplinary team, we come up with an incremental, gradual plan of increase in time and intensity that's tailored to individual patients. Right? The goal is 6 to 12 months out, not a few weeks. So if someone is feeling particularly good one day, we don't say go out and sprint, right? Just stick to the plan, gently push yourself, but don't overdo it. With that, we hope to avoid some of the post-exertional symptoms that patients would feel.
Give me an idea of what the beginning of this looks like.
If it's just simple walking for a few minutes, and that's what starts to cause fatigue, that's good to know. So we cut that back some and we say, well, walk a little less, take a break, walk again, take a break. The goal is mixing low intensity cardio and resistance training to help patients improve over the long term. A recumbent bicycle can be helpful. Water aerobics can be helpful. That's in the cardio bucket. You can also do yoga, light stretching. I think those can be quite helpful too, but it is so individually based. So it's hard to say exactly what's best for certain individuals. They might have other medical issues that might prevent them from doing a certain activity. Ultimately, though, the goal is to stay moving at a measured, gradual pace that increases over time. But more research needs to be done about what that exactly is. We're still learning answers to the question, is exercise useful? If so, what kind of exercise would be most useful for patients?
Should you begin an exercise routine on your own or under a doctor's care?
I think it's important initially to start in the healthcare setting with a team. We don't want to miss a condition that might be mimicking what long COVID looks like. The symptoms are quite non-specific. Once you get started with a gradual training program, that's something that people can do on their own, but it really depends on how comfortable people are. So I think it's a case-by-case basis, but the hope is after more research, we better understand, this is the treatment plan. You can do it with a healthcare team, or you can do it by yourself in a self-supervised way. But research needs to catch up to that point where it's more broadly applicable.
Dr. Matthew Meese is a family physician with Baylor Scott and White Health in Temple. And in sports, tomorrow the Texas A&M University Corpus Christi baseball team will resume a postponed game against Nicholls State. That is set for tomorrow at noon. The original game back on May 6th had been protested due to a misapplication of the NCAA's video review protocol, which brought Isaiah Afwerk back to home plate following a review of a hit by pitch due to a swinging strike. Check swings are not reviewable under NCAA baseball rules. The Islanders 7-13 in Southland Conference play and the Colonels 13-10 in conference play will resume the game in the bottom of the first inning with Nicholls leading 1-0 and A&M Corpus Christi having 2 outs and the bases loaded. The game's live stats will be available on the Islanders Athletics baseball page. And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.